Hey, I want to do a quick teaching. I want to talk to you about the role of the modern day intercessor. I want to talk about the role of the modern day intercessor. So I want to really give you what is an intercessor in the eyes of God. What is an intercessor? What do they do? So an intercessor is a position in the kingdom. It's a spirit. It's a position and a spirit. Though there are people that are called by God to be intercessors. We had a school of the intercessors, and we teach, and this is one of my assignments in the earth. And so an intercessor is somebody that we see them throughout the scriptures. Esther was an intercessor. Anna was an intercessor. Abraham was an intercessor. Moses was an intercessor. All the great prophets of old were intercessors. It is the number one assignment of Jesus right now. He said he went back to heaven, and he is constantly in a state of intercession for me and you. And so that's what Jesus does. He sits at the right hand of the Father. He's interceding. He's praying for you all the time. So that's why you should have confidence that the great high priest, the intercessor, is interceding for you. He's praying for you. He's warring for you right now. And so we are to partake of his ministry. And so there are people that God has given a special grace to. Even though it's the entire church's responsibility to pray and to intercede for cities and to pray for our government and to pray for our neighbors and to pray for our families. Everybody has that responsibility. But there are certain people that have been given a call, an anointing by God to pray specifically for to have a grace to pray, and intercede. To intercede means to stand in the gap. It means to stand in the gap where there's going to be danger or judgment, or to bring the will of God, because God cannot do anything in the earth separate from me and you. Anything God brings into the earth, he needs intercessors to bring it into the earth. God can't bring anything into this earth. He needs you to pray it into the earth. Because of the law of dominion, when God made man, he locked himself by his own laws out of the working process that he has to now. Demons need a body to move through. They can't just operate without a body. The devil needs people to work through, and God needs people to work through. The way God works primarily is through us, his sons and daughters, but through our prayers. So through the power of intercession, you can touch a nation. You can touch nations. You can have a national ministry as an intercessor. You don't have to go to Africa to affect Africa. You don't have to go to Europe to affect Europe. There's an anointing on your life that if you're an intercessor, you're called. How do you know you're an intercessor? You'll feel that burden. You'll be a person that carries the burden of God, that carries the burden to pray. All of a sudden, you'll be woke up in the middle of the night. You'll just have this grace, this urgency to pray for certain things. God will begin to speak to you. Pray for this person. Pray for this person. Pray for this person. If you feel that urging all the time in your spirit, it's a sign that God has given you a grace and an anointing to be an intercessor, to be a person that make the stand in the gap. Abraham is a great example of that. We see God was going to release judgment on Sodom and Gomorrah, and God began to speak, because intercessors are friends of God. The way you grow in your intercessory call is through the presence of God and through in the secret place. As you go and become a friend of God, God begins to reveal to you his secrets. He begins to reveal to you the mysteries of God. He begins to speak to you about the deep secret things, and he tells you stuff as a friend. You begin to pray his will. He says, I want to bring revival in your city, and you begin to partner with God, and you begin to pray the will of God and the agenda of God into your government, into your city, into your nation. You pray against the judgment. You pray, or God will begin to show you this person's gonna die. Sometimes he'll visit intercessors in dreams. He'll show you in dreams, and your job is to intercede to stop it from happening. There are great intercessors like Lou Engle and Reese Howells that I look up to. That literally, Reese Howells, World War II was happening, and Hitler was invading their country. He prayed just extended prayer all the time, and he literally stopped Hitler from taking over there. Now you look him up. It's Reese Howells. He wrote a book called The Intercessor. And so intercessors have the power to affect entire nations. It's a governing anointing. It's a governing spirit. And there are prophets every prophet is an intercessor. Every prophetic person has an intercessory call. But there are people and I believe God is raising up intercessors in this hour. He's raising up people of prayer. He's raising up people that will intercede and shift nations through prayer. The intercessors are the closest people to God. They're going to have great rewards in heaven, because there are people who might not be called to the microphone, but they're called to intercede for their city, for their grandchildren, for their people, for their city, for their relatives. The intercessory call is an assignment that you need to embrace.